Hi guys, let me introduce myself. My name is Justice Takalani Magai. I'm an attorney of the High Court, North Gauteng Division. Been admitted since 2009. I'm employed as a supervisory legal practitioner in the civil section at the Benoni Local Office, Legal Aid South Africa. I'm in charge of the civil unit, and I will be talking to you today on the following aspects, which I feel are very pertinent. The issue of you not paying school fees during the lockdown. Can the school refuse your child entry? And also, we'll also be looking at the issue of schools reopening and still you cannot pay your school fees. What can you do? Can your child be kicked out from school if you have not paid school fees due to the lockdown? Luckily, we're now on alert level 3 of the lockdown, but we've been in lockdown for, I think, for 71 days. And also, my discussion will also focus on the difference between public schools, that is the government schools, and also private or independent schools. Different rules and regulations are applicable to both. Now, I'll start by saying the following. The governing legislation for schools in South Africa is the South African Schools Act. It does distinguish between public and independent schools, independent being private schools. On the issue of public schools perform the constitutional function of providing basic education. This is in terms of Section 29 of the Constitution being Act 108 of 1996. I will read what Section 29 says and provides. Section 29 says, everyone has the right to a basic education, including adult basic education, and to further education which the state, through reasonable measures, must make progressively available and accessible. And everyone has a right to receive education in the official language or languages of their choice in public educational institutions where that education is reasonably practicable. Everyone has a right to establish and maintain at their own expense independent educational institutions that do not discriminate on the basis of race, that are registered with the state, and maintain standards that are not inferior to standards at comparable public educational institutions. Now, to continue, the Schools Act does prohibit the refusal of admission, suspension, or expulsion of a learner due to the non-payment of school fees in order not to deprive learners of their right to basic education. In terms of Section 40 of the Schools Act, parents of learners in public, and I stress the word public, schools are liable for school fees, but can be exempted from the payment of school fees to the extent that they are unable to pay. Now, depending on whether a parent has suffered a reduction in salary or has unfortunately become unemployed due to the lockdown, COVID-19, the exemption may be a partial exemption or even a full exemption. Where parents have been rendered unemployed due to the national lockdown, they should apply to the head of the school governing body for exemption from fees. This, of course, will be in terms of Section 40 of the Schools Act. It is important that the parents immediately approach the school governing body. They give reasons as to what is happening, what has happened, and then reason why they want full and or partial exemption. So this is very important, and parents should not also feel ashamed in doing that. It is crucial that when we speak to the school governing body, we give them reasons, we tell them who our child or children are in that particular school, and then they are compelled and or obliged as well to then listen to our plight. Why are you applying for exemption? Then there are forms which you can fill out, and also there's a letter and a document which you can fill out. Luckily, we have these forms and documents available on our Legal Aid South Africa website. Parents can easily get hold of those in case you do not understand as to what steps you must follow and so on and so forth. Now, if I may then move on to discuss the issue of private schools. Private schools or independent private schools, they do not provide the same constitutional function as public schools, and instead have contractual relationships with the parents of learners. And I will stress the issue of contractual relationships. So it's a contract between the parents and the school. At no stage is the government involved there. As I've already informed, Section 29 of the Constitution provides for the establishment of independent or private schools. They just have to be registered. And in this instance, we're looking at the Independent Examination Board, IEB. So to continue, independent schools have more extensive remedies at their disposal to enforce the payment of school fees. So now you are a parent of a learner who's in a private school. Unfortunately, you suffer unemployment due to a lockdown or a reduction in the payment of your salary. It is advisable that as soon as that happens, you then approach the private school, be it the governing body or even the finance department. You tell them what has happened. Then you try to see if you can't come up with a payment arrangement with the school. This is also important because yes, you have a contractual relationship and also obligations with the school. However, the school cannot, and I stress and emphasize the following, the school cannot immediately then say, we are refusing your child from having access to education because you are behind, you haven't paid. Now, still on the issue of private schools, there have been some cases, especially in KwaZulu-Natal, from the KwaZulu-Natal Division of the High Court, which have confirmed the principle of informed choice. So this case would be St. Charles College versus to Hackett v. Roville, wherein the court dealt with the issue of informed choice. And it stated the following: informed choice dictates that parents exercise a discretion to send their children to independent schools because they enjoy a higher economic status than the majority of parents who choose to send their children to public schools. Then the case confirmed that the immovable property of parents is executable for payment of area school fees. So parents must be wary of that unfortunately you have a contract, you are owing, and there is the expectation that you should then be in a position to pay. Then to continue, depending on the terms of each contract, failure to pay school fees may constitute a breach of contract, unfortunately. Schools would then be entitled to prevent students from returning to school. This is in connection with private schools. However, in another case, also from KwaZulu-Natal, NM versus John Wesley School, the KwaZulu-Natal Division of the High Court emphasized that when independent schools enforce their contractual rights in recovering area payments or want to exclude learners, they must always be cognizant of the best interest of the child. So by that, best interest of the child are also contained in the Bill of Rights. So in everything and anything we do, the best interests of the child are paramount, and those must always be in the forefront. Now, considering the ongoing situation regarding COVID-19 and its effect on the economy, and unfortunately the livelihoods of many of us, schools should be careful not to appear to be only concerned and or focused on the issue of chasing money, chasing profits over humanity. The issue of Ubuntu comes into play as well. I've mentioned the Constitution with regards to the best interest of the child. So now, children should not be punished because an unforeseen event like COVID-19 happened. Parents have been unemployed, reduction in salaries, and now the children must suffer because of that. So what am I trying to say? I am saying that independent private schools also have a duty to be creative in how they approach the situation, because this too shall pass. There will be a time when there'll be no COVID-19, hopefully, or if it's still with us, we would have learned to manage it. Now, smart private schools work out payment arrangements with the parents. They show the parents that the best interest of their children are important, and they consider that. And in this way, they're going to build something called goodwill. Going forward, parents would remember that in a time of need, the school was not only focused on payment. Yes, it is important that schools receive the payment. Here's the reason why. The fees which parents pay, 80 to 90% of them go to the payment of salaries of teachers. This is in private schools. So parents who can afford to pay are also advised not to skip on payment. I also advise to also inform the school that yes, we can still afford to pay. However, I cannot afford to pay the full amount. Therefore, I shall be paying 70%, 80%, and the difference will be paid in installments going forward. And I've also seen that there are some schools which have also offered payment holidays, same as the banks. They are telling the parents that for now, we understand you are stressed. We don't want to add to your stress. So therefore, focus on, inverted commas, getting your life in order. We will be there for you. So in other words, no child should be kicked out and or refused access to a private school, still private school. In a public school, under no circumstances, I've already informed you that under no circumstances, the Schools Act prohibits the refusal of admission, suspension, or expulsion of a learner due to non-payment of fees in order not to deprive learners of their right to basic education. This is one of the most fundamental rights. However, I will stress, it is important for parents in private schools, you approach the school, you tell them your situation, there will be understanding because they are also aware of what is happening. Yes, this might hit their bottom line. However, this is a great opportunity for them to show a different side to their management of the schools, that they're not only profit driven, it's not only about profit, it is also about the best interest of the child. Yes, there are contractual rights. However, the independent schools must be careful to minimize any adverse impact on learners' rights, and they must seek settlement routes before considering more litigious options. By litigious, I mean just going to court, because now if they go to court, they are going to spend more money chasing money, I understand. However, they might end up spending more money to get the school fees. So it is crucial that everyone involved, especially the schools, are creative and also mindful of the human tragedy which has befallen us. And children or learners must not suffer because, unfortunately, this unforeseen circumstance, as in like, these are called vis major, acts of God, unplanned for. The contract with the school might have a provision that in case that something unforeseen happens, you might not have to pay. I doubt if most schools had provisions like that before COVID. And I know going forward, they are going to have provisions which will provide for acts of nature, acts of God, or unforeseen circumstances. Legal Aid South Africa is available to assist everyone in these trying times. You can reach us on our advice line, which is 0800 11 11. Further to that, we have another platform, which is our Please Call Me number, which is 079 835 7179. You simply just send a please call me. We will receive it. We will then respond to your please call me as soon as practically possible. And also I mentioned that there are documents which are available on our self-help portal, which can be found on our website, which is legal-aid.co.za. You go there, see the documents, you print them out, and then you can fill them out, then take them to the school. This will be in connection with the exemption in terms of Section 40 of the Schools Act. And in closing, I would like to wish everyone the best of luck with the schools reopening. I do understand that these are trying times, but I feel that with each other, we will be able to succeed and come through okay after all of this. Thank you.